A very good afternoon to everyone, and thank you for joining in on our session focusing on ensuring privacy in product development. My name is Krishna, and I am the moderator for this session. And I have this esteemed set of panelists who would be helping us understand what is privacy in the product development realm, and how do you also make sure to imbibe privacy or embed privacy into the development lifecycle. So we'll start with a quick introduction. First of all, I would just hand it over to Sonia.
Thank you, Krishna. Hi, everyone. My name is Sonia. I am a compliance professional and I've been into privacy for almost around 12 years.
Thank you, Sonia. Now I would hand to Om sir. Om sir, if you could also introduce yourself and tell our attendees a bit about yourself.
So I am presently working with the Sirion Labs as Senior Data Privacy Manager. Have a experience of more than 8 years in data privacy area. Fellow of Information Privacy, member of IAPP International Association of Privacy Professional, as well as Data Security Council of India.
Thank you. And now, Anish, over to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Now, I have close to 2 decades of experience around security and privacy. Currently, I am a CISO and DPO for Milestone, right?
Next, Neeru, if you would also introduce yourself to all our attendees here.
Yeah, definitely. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Neeru Walia, working in this privacy domain for the last 6 years. I have worked into different industries. I have been to consulting, data analytics company, and now I'm into an IT consulting company.
Perfect. Thank you, Neeru. So, a bit about me. So, my name is Krishna, and I'm a director here at Tsaaro. I look after the security and privacy compliance and implementation projects. And Tsaaro is a data protection consulting firm operating majorly out of India and the Europe. And we intend to assist organizations in their data protection journeys, helping them mature their security as well as their privacy posture. Now, what does privacy by design mean? Right. So, Neeru, would you like to take over this question and share your inputs?
So privacy by design is, in a way, is a concept, right? It further has a 7 principle, right? Which again and again revolves around that how do we weave privacy into our product development, right? It's talking about it is not reactive, it is proactive, right? And it's end with saying keep user at the center of every design you make, right? So you go each principle by principle and you say everywhere they are talking about. So privacy is not an assessment. It's not a privacy impact assessment which you do at the end of the development before you make any rollout, right? It has to be weaved in from the time when you are having the product inception phase, right? And I strongly feel privacy by design should not be considered as a separate concept than a security by design or your overall quality SDLC processes. I really believe that if you have to really bring privacy by design into your processes, you have to make it a integrated approach, right? You cannot have a quality product without security, without privacy, right? These are important. Three aspects are very, very important and very integrated.
And great point, Neeru, right? Just to add, right, resonating what Neeru kind of called out, right? Now, security by design, privacy by design, right till now they were running a separate track. Right now, it's a time that we kind of combine that, because I would say that their mission is same, right? They want to be transparent with the customer, with the user data, and they should be kind of handled in a way which is we make organizations and product accountable there, right? So that is important. We marry both the things together and come up with a comprehensive framework. That's the need of the hour, right?
When we are talking about security by design and privacy by design, yes, both we can club up. But what we have is that when we talk about security by design, we are talking about any type of data and security of the data. But when we talk about privacy by design, then we talk about lots of other things, like maybe notice, just in time notice, maybe default settings of different parameters with different questions, those are pre-checked or not. So there are a lot more you have in privacy by design than security by design.
Sure, sure. I think that also makes sense because Now, as different organizations look at this differently, for example, privacy in any organization may not have a unique or different service line, right? The privacy team may report to the internal audit team or the CRO or maybe the CIO, right? So as we see it, we also see this evolving, and probably privacy being a different service line, then the privacy team would be able to communicate that by design concept more efficiently to the developers. We also would like to talk about the importance of privacy by design in product development. So, Sonia, I would just hand it over to you.
So, on the importance part, I think data is growing faster than ever, and it's growing exponentially now. And I was reading an article a couple of weeks back, and from there, I can say that data is like water. It flows and it ripples in a way that are difficult to predict. And as a result, we all can see that even when we try to comply with GDPR, we still struggles to ensure the effectiveness. And I think this is where the importance of privacy by design comes into picture. By the subject, I think it's very significant, and we all agree that privacy by design emphasizes on the point that the data needs to be inherently protected, which means considering privacy from very initial stage and then carrying it out throughout the complete development process. And while I work for a service industry, and when I read through the expectation, I feel having an ability to demonstrate that security and protection of digital information is well taken is becoming increasingly recognized as a business imperative. And this really adds to a lot of value when we talk about privacy by design. It's about the organization, how they well work, and also about how well we can build the process for our clients. And that's how I have felt that it's add as a competitive advantage for my organization and for the work I do.
So, from a developer's viewpoint, how can a developer practice privacy by design? So, let's think of it from a developer slash product manager's viewpoint, because both of them are, kind of working on the similar product or same service. So, can anyone please answer that question? And what is your opinion?
I would say before design, it is how do you elicit your requirement, right? So when you are building your product, so what are your use cases and how these use cases can be more privacy friendly, right? It initiate from there. So I also work in an IT consulting company, and I would suggest that my first requirement that how we should start building privacy by design is when a business analyst, right, they are discussing requirement with the product owners, or if there is a service company, you are discussing a requirement with your customer, there has to be focused discussion on privacy, right? There may be many clients who will not be probably understanding what kind of a privacy implication could be there in my product, because this is maybe they are making something for their internal consumption. But wherever they are asking user to log in and they're having user management done into their product, right? So definitely privacy will kick in. So that's, I would say, is the first step. These are the people who need to consider how do they build privacy into the product at the time of when they are discussing the requirement, the use cases, how do they want to make their product more privacy friendly to the end user, right? It has to flow from the contract. As a privacy advocate in the organization, our work will start when a project is getting started, when we are signing these SSCs and DPAs, and to understand what we are trying to make here, what kind of a data exchange would be there, who all parties will be involved there, and how these requirements can be more privacy friendly. And similarly, at each stage of SDLC, right, from requirement to design to testing and to end release, at each of these points, we have to put a privacy checkpoints, I would say, right, in the simplicity manner. We have to put some privacy checkpoint to see that we are, whatever are there in a contracts, got translated into your business requirement, and till end, these are tested as a test cases, and probably at the end there is an assessment to give a go ahead, things like that, right?
I would like to add here is that today we normally all our organization sort of drunk on data, means we have lots of data coming from here and there, and that data is coming through any of the product and any of the life cycle of that product, right? And then we need to understand what is the information life cycle which we are getting through these products. So we need to understand data, we need to understand over processing how we are going to do that, then we need to understand how we are going to store that data. And based on this understanding, and additionally how we are going to retain this, then how we are going to destruct this, how we are going to share this if we are going to share this with someone else. So complete information life cycle we need to think on. We may need to think on during software development life cycle, if we are gathering data through some forms, are we getting the data which is required, are we not getting the data more than that, are we giving the notice just in time notice, like when we are getting this is or date of birth someone, why we are getting why we are asking for date of birth at that point of time, just in time notice. That type of thing we need to think when we are planning this develop product development life cycle, in fact. And wherever it is required, we need to put all these in complete life cycle from initiation to destruction. That's my add-on to this.
We can also move on to the next part where looking at the SDLC cycle, right? There are different stages, stage 1, stage 5, depends on how the organization pushes it. And there's also a question around it that I will also direct to you on around what are the essential privacy clauses in an SDLC policy of an organization to implement PBT?
So I think first thing that we should look at is, I think, customer, whether it's your internal customer or external customer, right? And their data should be the center point for it, and all the policies and the clauses should be around it, right? Now, uh, as I said, right, when it comes to SDLC policy, right, lot of things have been ignored for quite some time, especially with respect to privacy, right? How do we include those areas? For example, data minimization, right? How do we ensure that we don't collect data? Because I know as drunk on data is something I will also use, right, Om? So there is a lot of data. There are a lot of companies whose business model is on data, right? But still, when it comes to accountability and being transparent to the customers on why we are collecting data and all, that is something which our business team and our legal team will take care. But as a developer, we make sure that wherever we are kind of getting data, we kind of in a lot of cases we encrypt it, or we make it mask it so that it's not kind of visible, or whenever there's a data breach also there's a one control in place, right? That is one thing, right? Data minimization I already told. Apart from that, there are other things that you can do, when especially a lot of cases you have third party and fourth party accessing your data for some maintenance or something like that, right? So make sure that your clauses flow down to the third party and fourth parties as well, right? Where when it comes to protecting the data, right? So because the controls at their end, we keep on saying that they can be our weakest link sometimes, right? People are the weakest link. So whomever you are kind of sharing that, we should have some clauses around it, right? And we should actually revisit all the customer entry point or the entry point of all the data. Unless we know that, we cannot build a policy around it.
I think when we are having SDLC in mind, right, when people are working in developing and designing and testing the software, the important aspect is training our people on the dark patterns, right? And these dark patterns can creep in any time. It can be it can creep in at the time of a requirement, or when we are designing the UX, when we are designing the architecture, when we are testing the application. Most of the time, right, people may not have intent to build something into the product which can lead to a privacy violation. It may happen because sometimes they were not even aware that this is against the privacy principles, right? So having those kind of a training to people on SDLC, that what are those dark patterns and how they should avoid these dark patterns, can be a very important point from a practice perspective. I'm not really talking about the clauses perspective, but putting privacy into practice.
Now, we were focusing a lot on the privacy by design and how it should be implemented in SDLC. So, does anyone have any pointers on how can you educate your developers, right? Because developers are core technical folks. It's not easy to communicate with them in any other language than Java or C++ or any other programming language, right? So, how do we communicate with them and how do we make them understand what is privacy by design and why should they involve a privacy professional from the ideation phase to the phase when they push code into the production environment. So any pointers on that?
So, I mean, the principle that I followed in my organization is these are technical people. They don't want to learn law, right? So, it is difficult to tell them, okay, what GDPR tells and what we should do and what we should not do. I think the best way to teach the people who are more technical is to give them examples, right? Give them example that what has gone wrong. For example, talking about maybe any latest breach, any fine which has happened of any of this big tech, right? What went wrong there? So if probably we show them a picture, right, that what may go wrong if we do things like that, that could be the best way to telling them. Because if we just tell them privacy by design have these 7 principles, GDPR has these 7 principles, right? Do this, don't do this, probably um, they will probably attend those trainings, and by the time they go back to their desk they won't even remember anything. But the training has to be more practical because it is not their subject, right? They are master in their subject, which could be any engineering language or practice which they follow. Privacy is our area, right? So we need to be advocate in a way that we can communicate with them in their own terminology, right? So this is just to add to them, maybe giving them more real life examples. Probably when someone is building an application, and if you give them an example, okay, there has been a breach because there were some cookies were placed without any consent and notice. Probably it will go to their head. Okay, oh, I'm also using this Google and Text cookie. I think I need to do this, right? Probably that is the more appropriate way.
And Sonia, would you like to add on to that point on what is your unique perspective on this topic of discussion?
So, Krishna, I have been actually following a very different approach, as Niru has said. So, we have trainings for all our folks. We believe that inculcating privacy at a very core at the organization is has to be an organization culture actually. So we have the standard trainings for
Mhm.
all, which is followed by an examination. So till the time they complete the examination, the training doesn't stand completed. At the top of it, we have some tailor-made trainings. Now, these tailor-made trainings are helpful when they know the basic information. So it is always 1 plus 1. So developers will go one common training, one unique training. Other teams will go one common training and one unique training. And I think for us, it has worked really well because when they read through the trainings and they go by the examination, they also get to relate to the practical concepts. And that's how it has worked great for us.
Great. I think that's a great point. We have two unique approaches, and both of them are working, efficiently for your unique business case as well. And so there's also a question in the comment section on around what is the best approach in privacy by design implementation, as there are immense challenges, including management commitments, step-by-step methods to integrate privacy into system. So what, according to you, would be the best approach for PBD implementation? Om, would you like to take it up?
Definitely. When means in this within this software development life cycle, we don't have maybe companies don't have enough bandwidth to put additional effort or additional expense over there during this complete life cycle. So for that, basically, maybe we need to discuss this deeply with the product managers. So when this product manager, who is the owner of this, through him, it will come through the architects, these individuals who are designing this, basically the product, any product. I'm not talking about only this application or something. I'm talking about any product. Product manager, if he is well aware about the privacy requirements, definitely he will get them put in this software development life cycle through this architect. And when it is in planning, means when it is in planning, tech is definitely going to do their work according to this planning, and it will be there. But yes, this need to be means education need to be provided to the top management, to the C suite, then second layer, and then product managers. It should come from the top instead of going down from developer side. That's my input over here, Krishna.
So, how do you feel can PBD in product development would help prevent data breaches? Maybe that could also be used as one of the pointers to take to management and say that we can reduce the risk of a data breach. So, Anish, would you like to add in there?
Yes, I think Krishna, you kind of call it out correctly, right? So if we kind of present these use cases, right, one, right, around the world, the privacy breaches, and I think with the laws, I think they are very specific, right, about the penalties that an organization may have to go through, right? So I think we should, right, kind of trying to drive that point, right, because it's no longer only on penalty, right? Fear is one thing, but again, it also is about our customer trust for the people, for the customers that we deal with, right? If something goes wrong, it is not the right thing, right? So it's basically, it's a reputational damage as well, right? So now when you talk about specificity of product development and how do we prevent data breach, right? So again, to our earlier point that we talked about, right, we should people or threat actors come across data through which they can add value, get value, right? They keep it on dark web so that they can sell. So if we try to reduce the amount of data that we kind of collect, store, right, then that is one basic principle that we typically follow, right? Wherever we are doing a product development, we make sure that if we are storing data, especially personal data, the controls around it across multiple layers are properly defined, right? Be it encryption, be it some of the access management principles, right, that we have, right, need to know and all, right, based on released privileges, right? So that is one more thing, and especially technology is also improving, right? So I hear a lot of things about homophilic encryption, and a lot of new technologies are coming, right? And I think those technologies will help, right, the product development team as well, right? While they do all the controls that we have, but based on the changing technology, a lot of things can be imbibed in the cycle itself, and that can help, right? So uh, these are some of the things I would typically do, right? Because these are some of the basic tenets, right? One is technology advancement, one is how do we kind of control what data we kind of store.
Right, right. I think if you look at PBD, I think those are some two really great points about data minimization. You don't have to save what you don't collect, right? And that's probably one of the great points on how you can also help management as well as developers understand on how it directly correlates to the risk that is posed by data breaches. What are the challenges associated with implementing PBD? Right. So would one of the panel members take up the question, please?
One thing which I commonly hear, right, is privacy kind of slows down the processes, right? Especially with the time to market when you are developing a product, and especially with the agile methodology of sprints and all, right? Where typically, if you say historically, we don't have a privacy professional sitting in a sprint, right, when we are developing a product or developing a part of product, right? So that is one thing which is a common misconception, I feel, and we need to change that as a group, right? And it should be seen as part of the overall product development than the slowing down the processes, right? So this is one thing I wanted to call out, right, based on the question which was shared.
Sure, Anish, thank you.
So, add on to this is that definitely when you want to put any framework which is already not there within your product development, definitely you need additional resources. And arranging these resources is definitely a challenge for privacy advocates and individuals like us.
Sure. Sonia, would you like to add on to those points and share your perspective on it as well?
So nothing additional to what Om and Anish have said, but I think what has helped me in this journey so far is the confidence that I got from the management. Onboarding management always work that can diffuse all the challenges that you may have in terms of resources, in terms of cost, in terms of introducing new factors. Having a very confident management believing in the team work as a key.
Right. I think that's fairly well put. And that also brings us to the end of our conference or roundtable discussion for today. Neeru, Sonia, Om, and Anish, thank you so much for your brilliant insights. And I think all of them would definitely have something to take back to their own organizations and probably try and implement a few principles that they learned here today. So a big thank you to all of you too.